And we are live. So, welcome everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to receive today Ray Ramsay. So, you will love Ray in just a snap. If you never met Ray, I know you will just fall in with his amazing OC's vibe. But before we go that, and before we really focus and highlight the amazing Ray, I would just like to kind of tie my personal life to what's going on and actually to what Ray is doing. And so this show has a little bit of a different vibe. As you can see, I don't wear my beloved hoodie or I don't have any geeky t-shirts. So I just went to funerals to celebrate the memory of a past friend of mine. And actually, so before you leave and you're like, oh, it's going to be all gloomy and dark and I don't want that today, don't worry. Actually, it's exactly the opposite. What I want to celebrate is life. And to me, death is integrally part of life. It's just the other side of it, right? And breaking news, we will all die at some point, right? So we better enjoy life as long as we can, and also enjoy life for all the people that are not there anymore to enjoy it. So today I will especially celebrate life with you guys, and like I want really to give you a minute to ponder all the negativity you've encountered, all the challenges, all the death around you, all the toxic things that have been surrounding you or loved ones. Is there any way that actually it could bring some positivity in your life? Like Ray Ramsay have suffered from toxic workplaces in his past. Because of that, or rather thanks to that, now he's helping others to enjoy healthy workplaces. Like I've suffered from bullying, right? I've suffered from being discriminated for my difference. And now, thanks to that, I'm helping others really embrace their misfitness and be able to build exceptional social lives for themselves. So just wanted to start this show. Guys, negativity is not necessarily as negative as we could believe. So that's my first thoughts. Hope you like it. And before I introduce you to Ray, would you like to say a few words? So as you've seen, I'm a talker, right? So probably it will be a few minutes before before you can talk again. Right. So I invite you to use that time wisely.
That is no problem, Kevin. I'm Ray Ramsay. I'm down here in Sydney, Australia. It's just ticked over to the 23rd of May. So in about just over 12 or so hours, I'll be getting on a plane to go to the US. So I'll be hopefully seeing some of my US friends while I'm traveling over there. I am referred to as the toxic terminator because I like to turn negative workplaces into positive ones and help people how to help themselves. A lot of people don't realize that their workplace is even toxic because they're just following the trend of how people behave in the workplace. And a lot of people just don't understand that it affects others. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you'd be so surprised. I come across so many clients, they're complaining about what they don't have and they don't look at what they actually have. And that's a big thing because once you realize what you've got, what you don't have goes away pretty quick. Okay, he's going to talk. Hey, there's Chase is here.
Yeah, no, that's great introduction. Thank you so much, Ray, for that. And so I would love to welcome warmly our friends Sharon, Jason, Lydia that just popped up. And actually, I would love to celebrate our entire Hounds of Business community. Mike, we are so proud of you. We are so grateful that you built this absolutely amazing Hounds of Business community. That's how Ray and I met. That's how Jason and Sharon we've met also. And this is an absolutely amazing community, really dedicated to heart-centered business owners, entrepreneurs, and it especially absolutely brilliant if you're a solopreneur. If you're a solopreneur, you absolutely want to have a community like we have, and maybe join the Hounds if you feel like it. So just DM us if you want to know more. And don't worry, it's all free. There is no catch, no spam, no nothing. But it's an amazing community. And that's how, so as I mentioned, how Ray and we've met. And so in a nutshell, Ray has been trained as a behavioral psychologist. He's a risk management specialist and a best-selling author between many other things. And on the personal side, what we really connected over, Ray and I, is our love for multiculturality, our curiosity and our open-mindedness to others and to other cultures, other mindsets. And that I would love to explore that, because I feel the more we have open-minded people on this planet, the more we have multicultural people, the more we will thrive all together and co-create instead of being in competition, in fear, in wars and whatnot. And I also want to give giant kudos to Ray, because Ray is in Tomorrowland, right? He's living in Sydney. Actually, he's having a plane tomorrow in the morning, I believe. So you're a warrior, Ray. Thank you so much for being with us so late for you. And so before I start with my own questions, I would invite you, anyone in the public, in the audience, if you have any questions to Ray, if you'd love to know how you could turn your own workplace into something healthy and joyful and basically a place of thrive, just ask your questions to Ray. He will happily answer them. Or if it has nothing to do with workplaces and you're just curious, or maybe you even had a crush on Ray, just ask your questions the same. Right? So, okay, so I will start the ball. You ask your questions whenever you want or can. And my first one is my new favorite question. Ray, what flavor of misfit are you? What makes you stand out from the norm?
I am the original black sheep. I grew up in the western suburbs of Sydney, which is basically like being a hillbilly. It's a very low income area. It's not many people in that area actually go to university or try and better themselves. But I've always been a very intelligent person, so I put myself through university. I traveled overseas, and I did what I always thought was right. And it took me, probably a good, after I got PTSD, to realize that I had to do something about myself. And yes, I did get workplace PTSD. In my younger days, I first started off working for a bank as a bank teller. And I was actually held up 3 times before my 21st birthday at gunpoint. And of course, there was no counseling or any stuff like that. And it was basically time to have a party, drink up, boys. So it was essentially, negative habit stacking. And after about 6 years ago, 6-7 years ago, one of my colleagues took his own life. And I wanted to know why, because I didn't know what the signs were. I was still doing my psychology qualifications at the time. And I wanted to know why. And it was because of a toxic work environment. He had everything to live for, and he just threw himself under a train. And it was like he couldn't think straight. And that was the psychological problem. And this is one of the reasons why I address toxic workplaces and show people how to make their lives better, mainly because I don't want to ever see that happen again to somebody I know, especially when I'm in a position to stop it. and to, provide, some positivity into their life. Hey, there's my friend Melissa. Yay. No dark triad today, Melissa.
So yeah, before I react, I want to warmly welcome our friends Henrietta, Jane, and Melissa. So good to have you with us. Thank you so much to bring your amazing, delicious vibe with us. And yeah, actually, what you mentioned, that's a lot. Like it never happened to me to have colleagues that took their own lives, or that I know of. But I have several family members that did the same. And guys in the audience, I deeply hope it never happened to you, and it won't ever happen to you, because it's very like, wow. That is absolutely terrible when someone that you deeply love or that you deeply respect and you have friendship with, that can be absolutely devastating. And I feel it's probably one of the very, very best reasons why anyone could address such an important topic as toxic workplaces. So back to what I started the show with, right? I feel this very, very sad outcome that actually was the trigger for you to do some good and help others avoid that. And I assume starting with yourself, right? Starting with your own workplace, being sure that it would be healthy enough for yourself and for everyone around you. Am I correct? I don't know, maybe I assume.
No, definitely. You got to start where you work at and where you got the most exposure to, and like I've said this on a number of podcasts I've been on as well, that essentially 90% of people have no idea they're in a toxic workplace, mainly because they're just following the leader, and this has been proven via experiments going back to the 1960s that it's environmental conditioning. Once someone's in that particular type of toxic workplace or negative workplace where there's poor behaviors, rather than feel ostracized from the group, they will essentially follow that pattern, and that pattern will actually develop. Now, my good friend Melissa Robertson Weinmiller is on the call on our list of people listening in. She'll love what I'm about to say now. There is a certain percentage of people that are part of what we call the dark triad, which are essentially psychopaths, narcissists, and Machiavellian, and essentially they're sociopaths. They're people you cannot change. You have to identify them early in the process and not let them into your company to begin with. But the other people, by spreading awareness, by coming up with acceptable behaviors in the workplace, having an ethics policy, having a code of conduct. I know this is pretty standard stuff on how to do it, but the thing is, unless you've got somebody driving it from the senior management or the executive, it's just going to fall apart. And then I'm just going to be giving people advice on their exit strategy. But the thing is, if you want your workplace to get better, you have to be able to identify toxic behaviors and say something. Don't worry about feeling ostracized, because you'll feel better for it, because you're actually showing strength and courage to actually say something. And it's simple. You say, that's really not acceptable. The way you've said that has hurt someone's feelings. How would you like it if somebody spoke to you that way? In some cases they do. Well, they do. But it is the best way to do it. You actually have to stand. And I'll tell you now, going back probably 20 years ago when I was first diagnosed, I went 20 years undiagnosed PTSD, and I had some dreadful behaviors because this is the environmental conditioning that we lived in at the time. And, misogynistic people, racists, across the board in Australia, and like women had virtually no say whatsoever. And it was, when you look back at it now, yeah, good on you, Jane. When you look back at now, how it is now in 2024, if you go back 35 years ago or even 25 years ago, it's a huge difference. And that's what it was like. And until such time as I worked out for myself what I deemed to be acceptable behaviors, we're all brought up with what is right and wrong. So there's a pretty clear definition of what is right and wrong. And that's if your parents brought you up right. So, because once again, it's all about environmental conditioning. So it comes from when you're a kid. So if you've got toxic parents, you've got probably a 75% chance that you will carry on with those toxic behaviors as you become an adult. And it's until someone actually tells you, no, this is unacceptable, you're not going to change. But the thing is, if you're willing to change, you can make a better workplace for yourself, make a better workplace for your colleagues, and you'll be a lot more courageous and brave. Yeah, it's the management. I'll tell you, it's a real trick. This is something that's really easy with senior management. They're either doing it or they're ignoring it. But until such time as they step up to the plate and say, right, this is how we're going to take it forward. This is how we want to take the company forward. Now, because one of the things that I like to tell senior executive and board members, I ask them the question, do you know how much money you're losing through staff turnover? And, board members, they don't get fed that information in a lot of cases. And I say, you should be asking that question because, you're looking at general entry staff here in Australia, they're around $80,000. So to replace them, you're at least up for $80,000. Then you pay the recruiters, you pay them 75% of that. There's another 60, so you're up to 140. Then you've got 3 months of training to get them up to speed, and then you factor in all the errors that people they're recruiting for that position. They're going to farm out the work to other people. And and here's a true stat: if you're working at 100% capacity, for every 10% more, so just say they split some person's job in half, you get half their work, your capacity goes up to 150%. So you're working an extra 4 hours a day or whatever the case may be. When you look at that from a risk perspective, you are 100% likely to make a mistake. And a mistake will cost money because that is an operational risk. And operational risk incidents equate to money. And it can be something simple, input error, putting somebody through to the wrong extension where you get a customer complaint, reputational risk. At the end of the day, that does equate to losing money. And this is how you actually make executives sit up and take notice. Why are people walking out the door? And that's where usually I start, well, how about we get this toxic workplace surveys out and ask the question and start interviewing staff and asking them what they actually think. Everyone's got to have a say. And I don't just talk to the executive and senior management. I want to talk to the people down in the trenches. I want to know how they feel. I want to observe them in their natural environment. And then I train managers basically how to take a behavioral baseline. Yeah, I agree with that too, Jason. and like, it's a big thing. Understanding how your staff operate in a stress-free environment. And then when they, step outside that baseline, you can go and ask the question. Like I ask managers, I say, how well do you know your staff? And I say, oh yeah, I know them. I say, okay, well, how well do you know them? What's their spouse's name? How many kids do they have? own their own home, or do they rent, or they have a mortgage, or, what are their hobbies? And like half of them go, oh, no, I don't go that deep. And I said, well, it doesn't hurt, because it's a way to actually approach them if you need to address a problem or if there is an issue. Because don't forget, problems aren't just in the work. I had a manager that says, you leave your personal problems at the front door. Dream on. That is impossible. And it doesn't matter how intelligent you are. It doesn't matter. What happens at work and what happens outside of work in your personal life affects everything you do. And so, like people say, yeah, you leave your personal life at your front door. Dream on. Moving back to the dark triad, and Melissa will actually like this. If you're a psychopath at work, you're also going to be a psychopath at home. It's not something you switch on and off. And it's especially when you look at narcissistic personality disorder. And on our next podcast, we'll have somebody talking about that. But if they're a narcissist in the office, I can guarantee you they're a narcissist in their personal life. It's not a condition you can just switch on and off depending on the environment. So, this is some of the stuff that I've been doing a lot of research on. And there's a new psychometric test that I'm actually implementing, Melissa. Check out the PIA and the MMIA. I won't go into what they are, but they're actually part of this is what I actually help HR areas with, is the psychometric testing. And it actually looks at behavioral characteristics and whether or not they're the right fit for the position, not just skills-based. But this is actually in-depth questionnaires on whether or not they fit the position, and it will identify people who have dark triangle behaviors and characteristics. And this is the testing that they actually do for senior executives in a number of companies now, because I've been pushing it out. But they do it for police officers as well, paramedics and fire brigade. Because and I'll give you an example. Recently, a few months ago, we had a police officer and he failed this psychometric test, but because they needed numbers, they let him in, and he actually committed a murder and killed 2 people. And that's why they're going back to this psychometric testing. They can't give anyone a free pass anymore, even if their quota numbers are down for recruitment. They can't afford to have somebody like that. Hey, Henrietta, yeah. I like that as well. This is part of what I've been doing for the past probably 12 months now, is essentially going in and helping people. And you don't even have to do it at the workplace. I'm on the board of my local golf club, and I talk to a lot of the members. And when I see people doing stuff that's unacceptable, behaviors that are totally unacceptable, comments about female bar staff and, dirty jokes and showing porn on their phones and things like that within the clubhouse, I say, sorry, guys, that's unacceptable. If you do it again, you'll get kicked out of the club. You've got to run a business as a business. It's not, your own personal playground. It's not just somewhere to go to, say you get paid. If you actually want to be something and make something of yourself, you've actually got to have some input into it and stand up when something's not right. I've got no problem telling people that they're out of line. And I expect people to do the same to me. If I'm out of line, just tell me. Because I went through 20 years of that, where I was a sheep, not a black one, a white one. I was just following the flock. Monkey see, monkey do.
You know what? I love that you mentioned that, because it's exactly what I thought. Back when you said that it all starts with awareness, realizing that some behaviors, some some things we say or do are unacceptable, even though some people told us so, maybe our parents, maybe our peers. And I feel there is a big trend of being a white sheep and just following the herd. And that is extremely detrimental. And I believe actually that you being a black sheep at herd, actually it served you. Being a black sheep actually allowed you to get to go out, to take a step back from the herd and realize, hey guys, you know what? No, that's not cool. Actually, I believe it
It's
was.
not cool.
No, we can't do that. That's not right. It doesn't feel right anymore. So I feel, what some people uh, probably, obviously stigmatized you with, actually it was a superpower. It wasn't something detrimental. Actually, it made you more aware, more. So I love that. I love that you mentioned that. And okay, before we continue, I would love to welcome our friends Isabel, Chris, and John, and Noeli, and Lisa that just joined the conversation. And if I'm not mentioning you guys, it's just because I have no idea if you don't comment. So I would love for you to comment if you feel so. You don't have to. No worries. We will still love you even if you decide to stay in the shadows. Nothing wrong with that. But I invite you to comment. At least just say hi. Or even better, ask some questions. Ask some questions to Ray, because otherwise I will ask my questions. And your questions actually might be much better than mine. So just a free invitation to do. And actually, you know what? I see a question. Lydia asked the question. So narcissistic behaviors can be slung around in a blame-oriented way. I'm uncomfortable with diagnosis when the culture is what we're talking about changing. How do you change the culture towards support and cooperation?
Usually I charge $300 an hour for an answer to that.
Catching.
Once again, it's got to start at the top. It's got to start at the top. You need one of the senior executive, preferably the CEO, to champion any cultural change that you're going to implement. And I'll tell you now, when I didn't get the CEO to actually support the cultural change we were implementing to clean up a toxic workplace, because we asked him to, there were some people in there that weren't going to change at all, and we said remove them because they're costing you a lot of money. One of them said, "No, I'm not doing it." I said, "See ya, I'm out of here. There's my bill." If they're not willing to change, all I'm going to be doing is wasting my time and wasting their time. Okay, so you need to have a senior executive, the champion. You need to implement a correct behavioral methodology. These are acceptable behaviors. This is how you would talk to people. And that's part of the communication plan that everyone needs to follow. Same with ethics, same with code of conduct, same with like how you want people to talk to one another. But the trick is you need to be doing training on this and awareness sessions on this every 2 months. I've seen a lot of companies that say, yes, we have this, and it's like a CBT, computer-based training that they do on a website, and they do it once a year, and HR can tick a box to say we've done it. I can tell you now, they'll forget about that 4 minutes after they log off, because it just goes in one ear and out the other. But when you get the staff to actually perform the training and actually be the facilitator of the training, it actually embeds that knowledge into their brain, into their subconscious, because they have to stand up in a face-to-face meeting and give that training, or they have to do it over Teams. So that knowledge is actually embedded in their brain. And that's how you get people on board. Whether or not they want to do it or not, it don't matter. But if you don't want to change, you'll be shown the door, because you're costing the company money. And I've had executives say, "Oh, but we got good bonuses this year." And I said, well, if you didn't have such a high employee turnover and high level of absenteeism, your bonus would have been a lot higher. And they just look at me like I've got two heads. And I go, really? Don't you guys look at this? These are KPIs you should be looking at. These are standard operational risk key performance indicators. Absenteeism. Like, don't you look at whether or not, your employees actually care about what they do? How productive are they? Is there a fair, delivery of objectives across the organization? Is everyone doing the same amount of work essentially? Or is one team doing more because they're better? If they're doing more, if they're working over 100% capacity, their stress levels go up, higher likelihood of, or definitely errors will come eventually, but they've also got a high likelihood of burnout, which translates into mental health issues. And like we've got new legislation actually that becomes into law on the 1st of July. And it's part of the Workplace Health and Safety Act. So it's actually a law. And it takes into account psychosocial risks. So you've always had bullying, harassment, sexual harassment, but it also takes into account whether somebody actually feels stressed because they're worried about their job position, or they hear rumors that there's going to be a restructure, or they don't know how to do their job positions are poorly written. Because all that's doing is actually building stress onto people. If people are left in the dark, they're just going to worry about what's going on. Why aren't I doing this properly? And it's the same thing. There's got to be, a communication plan in place. But essentially, if somebody does, and I hate to say this, commit suicide, this carries the same penalties as if there was a workplace incident, and somebody died because of no safety measures in place. It carries exactly the same penalties, which is about $3.5 million for the company, and any director that's directly responsible for that gets 5 years in jail. So they're pretty hardcore penalties. And this is why I've been telling people and showing people how they need to implement a positive culture, because your staff will be more productive. They want to come to work. And you'll notice the turnover will go down. If it's, 5%, yeah, that's expected. That's standard turnover for any company. Your absenteeism will go down. People will start to talk to one another with respect. You'll hear more laughter in the office. You'll see people smiling instead of frowning. There'll be, less chance of burnout and high stress levels. And these are part of the things that I look for. And like, one of the things I use a lot is body language. I observe people as they sit at their desk or they walk around an office, and it's very easy to see on Teams as well, or on Zoom or StreamYard as we've got it here with Kev. You can actually look at facial expressions, and you try and match up whether what they're saying equates to their facial expression, but also how they walk around the office. Whether they get whether they're doing an Al Bundy, if you're familiar with Married with Children, is a perfect example for somebody who is totally not motivated to do anything. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people who aren't motivated, who do as little as possible. They're the ones that are walking around the office with a file under their arm, or they've got an iPad in their hand, and they're just walking around the office having chats in the kitchen, or you find them downstairs at the local coffee shop having a coffee every 20 minutes and doing as little as possible. They're the ones I actually look for, and I ask them, what's the problem? Is there something we can do to make things better? How can I help you? And this is something their managers should be saying to them. How can we make things better? What do we need to, some people are just lazy And maybe they should look for another job, because it's not for everyone, I know. But as long as we keep out the psychopaths and the narcissists and the guys that can do some serious issues to people's stress levels and mental health, if we can keep them out of the company completely, that'll make things a lot better. But there's all different character types, and this is part of the problem. And one of the things behind toxic behaviors that I see is ego. And people with, it's either ego, they've got a huge ego, or they've got low self-esteem, and they're in a management position and they can't make a decision. And that lack of decision-making actually filters down through the rest of the team. So the team lose confidence. Their productivity goes down. So there's all different types of characters that you can look at, especially on a management level. Like people who are micromanagers, they lack self-confidence because they don't know how to delegate. And this is one of the main reasons for this, is because they haven't received training or quality leadership training. It's not management training, it's leadership. It's people training. It's how to understand people. Because everything about a toxic workplace, it's not about computers, it's not about the air conditioning or the quality of the building or what sort of coffee you're getting in your cappuccino machine. It's about people. And everybody's different. And you've got to understand people to get the best out of them. One of the things I used to tell my staff when I was in a senior executive position at one of the biggest banks in Europe, I used to say, you're only as good as the staff you have working for you. So the manager doesn't do the work. He delegates it to people, and that's why he hires specialists. And that's how I've always done it. I hire specialists, because just because I can do it doesn't mean I've got better things to do. Like I can work on strategy. I can collaborate with other business areas, work on the IT system, do any other type of risk stuff. And I got managers under me that I can delegate stuff to. And then we just talk on a weekly basis or a daily basis or whatever you need to do. And that's the best way of doing it. But the thing is, you need to be a good manager or a good leader, you need to understand people. And this is where behavioral psychology comes in. And this is where the risk management comes in as well. You need to understand people risk, and you need to understand behaviors. And that will help you understand how people behave, because you can ask that question. What is the problem? How can we help? Because it mightn't be anything to do with work. It could be an external matter. It could be something in their personal life. They might have a sick kid. They might be going through a relationship issue. And they might have had, a death in the family or whatever the case may be. That all impacts how they operate in the workplace. Yes, got to go Hounds.
So yeah, that is absolutely fascinating. I don't know how you like it in the audience, but yeah, I'm like, I could literally listen to you going deeper and deeper on that topic for hours. We won't do that. Like you deserve your good night's sleep before you take your plane, right? And I'm sure everyone here has important things to do. I'd like to say a few things. So very first, so good to have you, Timothy, Aaron, Diane, Craig, and Kofi. Apparently, we have Mike also in the house. Thank you so much for joining, guys. And I'm enjoying deeply this conversation. The thing is, I'm conscious of time. We still have two questions from the audience lined up. I would love for you, Ray, to explain what's cooking these days. What are you working on? What excites you? So we will do that at the end. And just I want to sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say one thing and to everybody here, and this is probably one of the most important things I will ever tell you. If you feel like you're stressed or burnt out, talk to someone. Don't bottle it in. And it doesn't matter if it's on a personal level or workplace level or whatever the case may be. If you don't feel right and there's something bottling up inside you, talk to someone. I can tell you now, you know what I was doing yesterday afternoon between 4 and 5:30 in the afternoon? I was in my psychologist's office getting my quarterly health check. I see, and I'm pretty good actually. Now, I am a behavioral psychologist, but I have my own psychologist that I go and see, and I see him every quarter. And we go and have an hour and a half's chat. We talk about all kinds of stuff. But the thing is, if you've got problems, see a psychologist. If you've got an EAP program, maybe they can help you as well. But talk to someone. Don't bottle it in. Because you bottle it in, you just get worse. Just makes things worse. And I've seen people that have bottled it in and they've exploded in the most inappropriate situations. And it's because they bottle that in and they can't help themselves. Back to you, Kev.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that one. Yeah, I believe it's extremely important, whether you're an employee or you have a team, or even more, in my opinion, if you're a solopreneur, actually, it's even more important because we don't have a team around us. Actually, I would love, I will make an announcement at the end of the show before we wrap up. But so next week, I will run a challenge, a 3-day plus 1 challenge, and it will be full of nuggets, especially focused on solopreneurs, to help you deal with that, improve your relationship with yourself, with your friends, and build an amazing network, and actually being able to create a healthy workplace even when you work by yourself. So exactly linked to what Ray just shared. So just wanted to mention that because to me it's all part of that conversation. And actually, I would love to just add one thing very quickly. And recently, I was in a coaching session. A friend of mine offered me a coaching session. Back to exactly what you said: talk to a psychologist, or a coach, or a friend, or your grandma, whoever, or your goldfish, whoever can help you, right? And actually, my friend Iskra, she helped me realize, hey, you know what? In the big rocks, in what I really wanted to focus on and what I needed to focus on, and I was all about, so I was preparing for my masterclass a few days ago, and I was all about, operational productivity, etc. And I couldn't find the third big rock. And then it hit me. It was flow. My third big rock wasn't about productivity. It was about being in flow. It was being able to be in such a good mood, in such a good vibe, that when I would show up on my masterclass, I would shine bright. And I feel it's extremely important, whether we are in a workplace with others, or even better, when we are working by ourselves, especially at home, to be in flow, do good things for ourselves, and really create that healthy workplace, even if it's a workplace of one. So just wanted to mention that. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel it's very important.
No, spot on, mate. Definitely. Okay, what I'm working on at the moment is one is my son-in-law's getting my website up and running. So then I'll be able to put on about half a dozen training courses that people can have a look at or purchase or hire me to give them to them. So there'll be a toxic workplace training course. I can do it for 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 days. It doesn't matter. It just depends how much I want to pay, because it doesn't come for free. I've also got, and this has been quite popular lately, I do a risk management fundamentals course, and that's basically to teach small business owners, sole proprietors, just how to save their business just using a standard risk management protocols. And this is, the 31,000 guidelines. I say, yep, you can get me on there anytime. Beautiful. Oh, good stuff, Kit. Also,
and it's on me, right? I didn't intend it to kind of plug in my channel, but it made so much sense based on what you just shared. It was like, it was really definitely linked to the conversation. So you know what? Let's talk about that right now. So Ray, you're working on amazing things. So you just need a few extra nudges to finish your website, if I understand correctly. In the meantime, folks,
it'll be up soon.
In the meantime, until Ray finishes his website, have all these amazing courses up and running, I invite you to connect with Ray if it's not done already. Just give him, or at least follow him. As you can see, he's absolutely overflowing with nuggets about how to make your workplace switch from toxic, or at least to healthy and joyful, and allowing you to thrive the way you deserve. So I warmly invite you to connect with Ray and just ask questions. And okay, you heard usually those kind of sessions have a 300 price tag, but maybe, who knows, maybe you will be kind and do a special discount for our audience. So guys, it never costs anything just to try. Maybe Ray will come on. I have bills to pay. I'm sorry, I would love to, but I can't afford that. But yeah, you can try. Who knows?
Just send me a message in LinkedIn through LinkedIn Messenger. I'll send you my calendar. We can have I do 35, 40-minute sessions for free just to get to know each other and see how we fit together. Like I've done this with a whole heap from the Hounds. So I do it quite often. That's how Kev and I got together, and we had a good hour session. Same with Melissa, who's on the call on this session as well. We were supposed to speak for 15 minutes. We spoke for almost 2 hours. So once you get to know somebody and you know what they can help you, how you can collaborate with one another, it's no problem at all. I'm very happy to help people who need help. I will give help. That's no problem at all, and I'll give it freely. If you've got mental health issues, I can help you. I can show you who you can talk to and give you some suggestions. So once again, don't bottle it in. I'm very helpful. I'm a PTSD survivor. I give talks free of charge to military groups, police groups, from people who are actually suffering from PTSD. And I give my time freely, and I'm happy to do it, because if I can save one person, I've done something good.
I love that mindset. So thank you so much. So you've heard the man. Folks, if you'd like to know, what to do with your workplace, or if you've been appealed to raise amazing vibe from Tomorrow's Land, just connect and see what happens. And so we have about 10 extra minutes. So let's go sharp and snappy and very focused. So I would love if you could answer. We have Henrietta and Melissa's questions lined up. So if you could answer like 3 to 4 minutes tops to each. And I know, ladies, you deserve so longer. You deserve much more time for your questions. But all in due time. I'm so sorry that I'm supposed to be the timekeeper, so I did a poor job today. My apologies. But
no, mate, you've done a great job. You've done an absolute great job. I'll give Henrietta's question a very best way to recognise toxic workplaces: high staff turnover, high absenteeism, meaning basically everyone goes on sick leave because they don't want to get up out of bed in the morning to go into the office. Okay, it's a workplace that doesn't do anything about bullying and harassment. Any workplace where there's a lot of sexist jokes or people that make sexist comments, where there's gossiping and cliques, where like they want a workaholic behavior, so they think less is more, or more is less, or whatever the case may be. And they've got very poor communication, and the managers suck. Or there's one good manager and there's 5 crap ones. And when you don't want to get out of bed in the morning to go into the work, or you dread going into the work, it's time to do something. And you can start small. You can just talk to your colleagues. What do you think of this? Does this sound right to you? Does this sound acceptable behavior? You can ask those questions. And then you can go and talk to HR or talk to your manager or whatever the case may be. But if you've said something and they won't do anything, then it's time to work out your exit strategy. And believe me, I've worked in toxic environments before, and I've tried to change them, tried to make a difference and make them better. And that's from my personal level by talking to various people and saying, does this sound right to you? And when they said they do something and 3 months later or 4 months later, nothing's changed, exit strategy time, because it means they're not going to change. So always keep that in mind. Always have an exit strategy. And I know some people can't afford it because they're in a position, they may not be able to afford it, but can you afford being long-term sick leave or having a mental health problem? They're the things you need to look at. So there's pros and cons, but some sort of mental health problem, that's a big issue because you're not reemployable. So it's better to get out while you can. And look, trust me, everything comes out for the better. Was there another question?
Yeah, absolutely. We have. So very first, thank you for your answer, and thank you to Henrietta for your question, and to Lydia, amazing questions so far. And we have Melissa's question. She would love to know, actually, if you could give us a real world example of what you've done and how you've been able to improve somebody else's workplace.
Okay, I took a very small sports company, and I spoke, and I was lucky because it was actually a golf area. So, because I've got that background in golf, in golf, I know the industry. I know how people operate, and basically, I spoke to their board members, and they brought me in to actually implement a positive work culture. And part of the problem was in this particular company, because they're different sports areas, different business areas, but it was ensuring that I had the sponsorship and we installed correct behaviors. I wrote them a code of conduct. I wrote ethics. I wrote their communications plan. And then I trained all the managers in people management, how they need to talk to people, the questions they need to ask their staff, what triggers to look for when their staff have a problem. So basically how to gauge a behavioral baseline. And there was about 120 people. So I did the initial training for them. I wrote up their training plan and what they need to do and rolled it out that way. So it's not hard to do, but I had the support of the board and the CEO. So it made my job a lot easier because I had their backing. Now, part of what I actually did was I actually did behavioral profiling after I asked them to do the toxic workplace survey that I hand out. And when I had some people coming back with some of the questionnaires saying that, yes, this certain areas are toxic, I wanted to interview them and find out why they thought they were toxic and who they thought was toxic. And then it was a matter of identifying the people that were identified from the survey and having a chat with them. And I'd ask questions like, what if somebody said to you that you're a scumbag? And they come and go, what? I said, that doesn't sound very nice, does it? And I said, no. I said, I'd call that unacceptable behavior, would you? Yes, definitely. I said, well, remember that a number of people have heard you say that to certain people in this organization. So remember what the acceptable behaviors are. Because even if you see someone doing it, you should be telling them not to do it. And this is all it's about. It's awareness, it's communication, it's training, and it's actually identifying the people who are toxic. Now, there's a lot of people there who had no idea they were doing this. And until you actually pulled them up and actually spoke to them, they're easy to change because they realize, oh, shit, you're right. That's not acceptable. And they're easy to change. It's the ones that don't want to change. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and so it gives us a better grasp on what you do. And thank you so much, Melissa, for this amazing question. Because you know what, we tend to explain what we do, but actually real case studies, real life examples, it's extremely powerful. So that was very, very good. And
I just want to answer Jane. I'll tell you what my favorite success story is. I worked with a HR company who were interviewing for senior executives. And apart from getting them to do Myers-Briggs and the PIA psychometric testing, I got every senior executive to do a PLC test, which is the psychopathy checklist. And basically, if you score anything over 0, you shouldn't get hired. And this is what I trained them to do. And out of about 100 people that did this psychopathy checklist, they had about 6 or 7 people that scored higher than 0. And I said, I hope you didn't hire them. And if you score higher than 10, call the cops because you got serious problems. Now, Melissa will back me up on that one.
So okay, I see.
That was my favorite success story because it took them a while to understand. You need to identify people with psychopathy tendencies because they will ruin a business. And I direct that. Have you guys read Snakes in Suits? Rob Hare, he actually wrote the psychopathy checklist. He's about 94 at the moment, so I think he's still kicking, but it's a very good tool to identify people that will ruin your business. And that is my favorite success story. It took me a while to convince them to do it. And we ran a number of tests moving up to it. But now I've got 4 customers that actually run that psychopathy checklist as part of their recruitment process. And they think it's a great tool because they identify potential toxic people early.
Oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That iconic saying about rotten eggs, right? You need only one rotten egg to spoil the whole basket, and it's true for apples. It's true for everything. So of course it is the same with human beings and business. If you have one person that doesn't belong there, and it doesn't necessarily mean there is something wrong with them. If they are that dark triad, obviously there is. But maybe it's just because it's not the right environment for them, and they can't thrive. It was interesting when you mentioned, being lazy. I've been that employee. I've been a lazy employee, and
Me too.
I bet that at least half of the people in the audience have been in such a position at some point because just it wasn't the right environment. If you're a desert flower and someone puts you in the snow, you'll be like, oh no, absolutely not. You won't be in the right environment. But if someone puts you on a dune in the desert, you're like, oh, okay, now I can thrive. If you're not in the right container, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I feel it's very powerful. I love that success story that you mentioned. So unfortunately, we're already at the end of this show. So super quick. So I already mentioned my upcoming challenge, so I won't go again. So folks, if you'd love to improve your social life in like exceptional ways, join me starting next Monday on this challenge. I will share the deets. You know where to find me. Now, I would really love to finish with Ray, just highlighting this amazing man. And as Jane said, you have an exceptional specialty. Like we would love to clone you. We want more Rays out there. We know it's not a good idea. You don't clone black sheeps, right? The black sheeps are there for a reason. They are unique for a reason. So it's great that there is only one Ray Ramsay, but we'd love to have more people doing exactly what you do in improving workplaces. So yeah, just.
And the big secret, and I'll tell you this now, the big secret is understanding risk management and people. When you put those two together and you get that understanding, you can make everyone's life better, not just your own. And if you can help one person a day, one person a week, one person a month, it doesn't matter. If you can help one person, you will feel so much better. And that person will help someone else. And those people will help someone else. And it cascades out. That's one of the things I can recommend. If you can help somebody, help them. It's better to give. You'll receive in the end, but it's better to give.
I love that. And yeah, Phil, you know what? I love asking for final words to my guest. I guess we had that. That was just mic drop, just helping whenever we can and focusing on risk management and people. That's powerful and beautiful. So thank you so much, Ray, for accepting my invitation. I was really happy to have you. Thank you for all your wisdom and generosity. And I can't wait for you to have your website finished, so we can benefit from your wisdom on a higher scale.
And very quickly, my new book should be out by Christmas. It's called How to Survive a Toxic Workplace, and hopefully I'll have it finished by Christmas. So we've got a publisher lined up and everything. So I just got to get it finished.
So yeah, let us know. We would love to promote that, because once again, this is an extremely important topic that is literally a question of life or death sometimes. So yeah, that's we need that out. So please finish it, and we will happily promote it. So thank you so much in the audience. Thank you for all your comments, all your love, all your questions and support. We still love you, Replay team. We don't have anything against you. We love that you carve out the time to catch up the recording. It means a lot to us, so thank you so much. And I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. And Ray, a good night's sleep before your plane tomorrow. So thank you again to all of you. And until next time, I will have Isabelle. It will be the very last episode of this season, so don't miss it. It will be Isabelle Fortin herself, Mon Petit Cœur Québécois. So you don't want to miss that one. It will be the farewell for season 1. And much love to everyone that followed me and supported me, and all my raving fans out there. I love you so deeply. And Ray, once again, thank you so much for being an amazing guest and just being so generous with your answers. You went far and beyond. So, mad respect.
Mate, if I can help, it's happy to do so. So thanks, Kevin. And so thanks to all the hounds. I'll catch up with you in due course.
So yeah, I will put the banner, Hounds of Business Community, assemble. Always so good to have you here, my friends. And until next time, bye-bye.